In the heart of a bustling city filled with concrete buildings, loud traffic, and the constant rush of daily life, there was a zoo like no other. Hidden in plain sight, tucked behind towering oaks and ivy-covered gates, was the Enchanted Menagerie, a zoo that only those with a sense of wonder could find. Most people walked right past it without a second glance, thinking it was an old, abandoned building. But for those who believed in the magic of the world, the zoo revealed itself. Elena was one of those people. From the time she was a little girl, Elena had always been drawn to animals and nature. She spent hours in her backyard, watching birds flutter between trees and listening to the rustle of squirrels in the bushes. As she grew older, her love for animals turned into a fascination with the unknown. She read every book she could find about rare species, mythical creatures, and legends of enchanted places. So, when Elena first heard whispers of a magical zoo hidden in the city, she knew she had to find it. It had been a strange morning. Elena, now in her early 20s, had been walking home from her part-time job at a small bookshop, her mind still lingering on the fantasy novel she had been reading on her lunch break. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the streets, when she noticed a small, ivy-covered gate that she had never seen before. Curious, she stopped. The gate was slightly ajar, and behind it was a narrow, cobbled path leading deeper into what seemed like an overgrown park. She had walked this route 100 times, but this gate had never been here before. Her heart quickened with excitement as she pushed the gate open and stepped inside. The air changed immediately. It was as if she had walked into another world. The sounds of the city, cars honking, people talking, distant construction, faded away, replaced by the soft chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. The path wound through thick trees, their branches arching overhead like a protective canopy. She could smell the sweet scent of flowers mixed with the earthy aroma of wet soil. And then, just as the last rays of the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, she saw it. The zoo. It wasn't like any zoo she had ever seen. There were no towering fences, no crowds of people, no signs with rules or maps. Instead, the enclosures were woven seamlessly into the landscape. Large, open spaces filled with lush greenery, sparkling streams, and towering trees. The air hummed with magic, and for a moment, Elena simply stood there, mesmerized. "Welcome," a deep voice said from behind her. Elena turned quickly to see a tall man with silver hair and kind eyes standing in the shadows. He wore a long, dark coat that fluttered slightly in the breeze, and his presence felt both calming and intimidating. "I'm sorry," Elena stammered, unsure of what to say. "I didn't mean to intrude." "I." The man smiled warmly. "You didn't intrude. Only those who are meant to find this place can enter. You must have a heart full of wonder." Elena relaxed slightly, but still felt a sense of awe at the man's presence. "What is this place?" "This," the man said, spreading his arms wide, "is the Enchanted Menagerie, a zoo unlike any other, filled with creatures from all corners of the magical world. My name is Keeper Icarus, and I am the guardian of this sanctuary." Elena's eyes widened. "A magical zoo?" Icarus nodded. "Indeed. Here, you will find creatures both rare and wondrous, beings you've only read about in legends. But remember, they are not here for show. Each of them has a purpose, and their presence here is part of a delicate balance." Elena's heart raced with excitement. A magical zoo, hidden in the city, filled with creatures of legend? It was more than she had ever dreamed of. She had to see more. "May I explore?" she asked, her voice trembling with anticipation. Icarus studied her for a moment, then nodded. "You may. But remember, not all creatures in this zoo are friendly. Some are here because they must be kept away from the world. Do not wander too far from the path." With that, Icarus stepped back into the shadows, leaving Elena alone at the entrance. She took a deep breath and began to walk. The first enclosure she came upon was unlike anything she had expected. Instead of cages or glass barriers, there was a large, open field surrounded by trees. In the center of the field stood a creature that took Elena's breath away, a unicorn. Its coat gleamed a pure, silvery white, and its mane flowed like silk in the soft breeze. The unicorn grazed peacefully, its horn catching the fading light of the day. Elena couldn't help but smile. She had read about unicorns in countless books, but seeing one in real life was beyond anything she could have imagined. She stood there for a while, simply watching, feeling a deep sense of peace. As she moved deeper into the zoo, she encountered more incredible creatures. There were griffins with the bodies of lions and the wings of eagles, their golden eyes sharp and intelligent. There were phoenixes perched on tall trees, their fiery feathers glowing softly in the twilight. And then there were the smaller creatures, fairies flitting between flowers, tiny dragons curled up in nests, and glowing butterflies that left trails of sparkling dust in the air. But as Elena explored, she noticed something strange. In the distance, beyond the main enclosures, there was a dark, shadowy part of the zoo. The trees there were thicker, their branches twisted and gnarled, and the air seemed colder, heavier. She remembered Icarus's warning not to wander too far from the path, but her curiosity got the better of her. She ventured closer to the shadowy area, her footsteps cautious. As she approached, she heard a low growl, and her heart skipped a beat. Peering through the thick trees, she saw something large and menacing, a creature unlike any she had ever seen. It was a massive, black-scaled beast with glowing red eyes and sharp, jagged teeth. Chains bound its limbs, and it paced restlessly in its enclosure, snarling and snapping at the air. "What is that?" Elena whispered to herself. Suddenly, a voice from behind startled her. "That is one of the reasons this zoo exists." Elena turned to see Icarus standing behind her, his expression serious. "That creature is a shadow beast, a being born from the darkest corners of the magical realm. It feeds on fear and despair, and its presence alone can corrupt the hearts of those who linger too long in its vicinity." Elena shivered, stepping back from the shadowy enclosure. "Why do you keep it here?" Icarus sighed, his gaze softening. "Not all creatures of magic are kind, Elena. Some are dangerous, and their existence must be controlled. This zoo is not just a sanctuary for the rare and wondrous. It is also a place of containment for the things that could harm our world." Elena nodded, understanding the gravity of what Icarus was saying. The zoo was more than just a collection of magical creatures. It was a balance between light and darkness, beauty and danger. For the next few weeks, Elena returned to the Enchanted Menagerie whenever she could. Each time she visited, she learned more about the creatures that called the zoo home. Icarus had taken a liking to her, allowing her to explore deeper into the zoo's secrets. She learned about the creatures' histories, their powers, and their importance to the magical balance of the world. But as time passed, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the zoo than what Icarus had told her. There were parts of the zoo that seemed off. Enclosures that were always dark, creatures that never showed themselves, and whispers that seemed to float on the wind. And then there was the shadow beast. Every time Elena walked near its enclosure, she felt an unsettling pull, like it was trying to communicate with her. One evening, as Elena was leaving the zoo, Icarus stopped her at the gate. "There's something you should know," he said, his voice low. "This zoo, it's not just a sanctuary. It's also a prison." Elena frowned. "A prison?" Icarus nodded. "Some of the creatures here have done terrible things. They've harmed both the magical world and the human world. The zoo was created to keep them contained, to protect both worlds from their influence." Elena's heart raced. She had always known there was something darker about the zoo, but she hadn't realized the extent of it. "Are they dangerous?" "Some of them, yes," Icarus admitted. "But most are here because they were misunderstood, or because they didn't belong in either world. It's our job to protect them, and to protect the world from them." Elena looked around the zoo, her eyes lingering on the shadowy enclosures. She had always thought of the zoo as a magical wonderland, a place where creatures of legend could live in peace. But now she understood that it was also a place of responsibility, a place where the balance between light and darkness had to be maintained.